control the use of your body to camouflage your shots so that it gives your opponent less reaction time to get to the ball. We've got a couple graphic illustrations of this, one being the low drive serve. Most of the good players now are using a good, powerful two-step motion, and they're trying to camouflage the shot either down the right wall or down the left wall to the last possible instant so that their opponent has minimal reaction time and will often cause a weak return. Another big area is in the course of the rally when sometimes you'll feel your opponent on your left hip and you're going to have a forehand shot. As you're setting up, you're holding him on this hip because he can't move in your way because he'll block your shot and cause an avoidable hinder. So you keep him on your left hip and you slide the ball down the right wall for a point. Vice versa. This can happen when you're hitting a backhand down the left wall and you have your opponent on your right hip.
0 serving 0.
Well, Donnie started out pretty strongly, a nice forehand down the left wall.
Thomas
if I were
serving
coaching Donnie, I would advise him of one major thing. Do not get into a passing syndrome with Mike Yellen. If you're going to play defensively against him, pop the ball to the ceiling. What he did there, rather than pop the ball to the ceiling, is he tried to redrive it. If he tries to redrive it against Yellen, he is going to be on the tour of the court. Yellen keeps that ball down low, makes him consistently dig for the ball, and Donnie's backhand grip does not allow him to reach back on the ball very well.
Thomas feels Yellen's get. I call it good. Call stand, side out.
Perhaps for our viewers, you could explain, Charlie, what happens when a player appeals a call.
Well, when you appeal the call, there's two linesmen, and the linesmen signal thumbs up or thumbs down depending upon whether they agree with the head referee's call. It takes two disagreeing linesmen to overturn the call. In this particular court, we have one linesman upstairs and one downstairs to get different angles than the head linesman has. Nice shot by Donnie, that hard drive with the thumb ball down the line. And that's probably the best way to attack Yellen. Do not attack him in a cross-court pattern. He steps over very, very well. He stays very, very low, particularly for his weight. He's a chunky man. Reminds me a lot of Jack Nicklaus when he was the same age.
That's tough when you get that ball coming off that glass at the back, and you heard the clang of racket against glass as Thomas leads 2-1.
That's one big difference between the game now and the game, say, 10 years ago. The players are using much more upright swings. The more upright your swing, the more distance you have to generate club head acceleration on the ball that's very, very deep. So a player like Marty Hogan or Lindsey Myers, the big backhand hitters, can hit straight down the ball and still hit with tremendous power, even when the ball's within a foot of that back glass.
Yellen serving first game, 2 serving 2.
Good get by Yellen on that last point, and he was able to win the point.
Ace.
Tough serve. We mentioned on an earlier telecast of one of Mike's games how much he's improved his serve over last year's CBC Classic. He's getting very, very low on the ball and hitting with much more pace. Before, Mike used to be content to play strictly control, putting the ball in play and rallying, trying to fatigue his opponent. But this year, we've gone to 15-point games in this Classic, and on the American Tour, they're playing a series of 11-point games. So the so-called tiring or fatigue factor style of control game is passé. Now you have to play controlled power, if not straight power.
This is a great rally.
Beautiful movement by both players. Donnie's in great shape. He trains at the same club I do in San Diego, works with weights, works on specific footwork exercises. Yellen, on the other hand, tends to exercise strictly by plane.
2 serving 3.
Either player, you may notice, both American players wearing eye guards.
Well, I don't recommend that, of course. I recommend that everybody, amateur or professional, use some form of eye protection. It's mandatory in Canada, and I think in that regard the Canadians are 2 or 3 decades ahead of the American counterparts. Beautiful backhand by Donnie. Now, I mentioned earlier that the key to this matchup is the fact that Donnie's contact position with his Western thumb ball grip on his backhand requires that he contact the ball out in front of him, and so the wide-angle passing attempts by Yellen will be particularly effective. However, Donnie is extremely effective simply because of this grip on the ball that's in the front court with his backhand. So you don't want to leave Thomas able to step forward with the thumb ball and drive the ball down the line.
5, serving 3.
Yellen is used to starting slow. As a matter of fact, for 5 years or so, it almost seems like he tries to lose the first game because he wants to keep his opponent out there for 2 hours. He feels that no matter what the score of the first game, if he extends his opponent physically and mentally, that in the long run, in the tiebreaker, it's going to come to his advantage. However, with these shorter games, he's going to have to crank up a little bit earlier than usual. Beautiful serve. There's a good example. I don't think previous to this tournament, and the entire time I've watched Mike Yellen, who's one of my favorite players to view, that I've seen him serve more than a handful of aces. He's really cranking up on that serve.
This is our final quarterfinal match. The winner of this one will go into the quarterfinals along with Jerry Halacher, Craig McCoy, and defending champion Marty Hogan.
5, serving 5.
There's a little garbage serve designed to keep the ball up high as possible and force the opponent to hit down if he wants to attack. Set up off the back wall. Thomas sets up and splats it. Nobody could have got that ball.
Excuse me.
Yellen, in his attempt to attack, hit the ball too high off the front wall. If you're going to attack the ball, you've got to be very, very careful of your length. That's the most important aspect. You do not want that ball to carry him off the back wall to give the player 2 seconds to set up for an easy kill shot. Nice stealing ball. Donnie's going to hit the thumb ball right into the corner. Notice how he bent down with his knees, got the thumb ball out in front of him, and drove it with side spin right into that corner. Now, he's using a new racket this tournament from what he used last year. Last year, he was using a fiberglass racket, which is very, very flexible. This year, he's using a steel racket, which is not as flexible. When you use a flexible racket, you get much more side spin on the ball, and it causes the ball to splat with much more velocity on the secondary bounce. However, he feels with the metal racket that he's getting overall basic, better control throughout the entire repertoire of arsenal that his game consists of. One other thing you might notice about both these players, particularly Mike, is that they do not back around any of their shots. They tend to keep their position and hit whatever the ball would dictate. A lot of players, Jerry Halacher in particular, will back around his backhand, almost putting his butt up against the left wall to swing with his forehand. You see Donnie there hitting the straight backhand, and Yellen hits the backhand from the middle of the court all the time. Beautiful forehand. Snap that ball down.
Been some good action in this game, and it's close. Yellen leading Thomas 7-6.
Good serve. It got tough over there. Let's watch this in slow motion.
Mr. Thomas, you're first.
Yellen reverts, gets forearm pronation, acceleration to the back wall. It takes a bad bounce out the back wall, and it gets very, very close. No air. Miscue.
Mike, you appear to be shooting more.
This is game 1 of the Yellen-Thomas match. Ace by Mike Yellen. It almost looked as though Thomas was wondering about that call.
It looked like it was short from here. There's a BB back wall. Donnie comes forward on it, hits the thumb ball, 3-prong crotch. Beautiful shot. The one thing that you want to notice about Donnie's front court backhand is how he spins out of the shot and hits with side spin as opposed to the tennis formation of swinging from the inside out on the ball. Gives him a little bit more power. Nice shot. Double reverse pinch. Dinks in. Yellen comes in, leaves it up. He's on the tour now. Off the back wall. Donnie's got to put these balls away. Well, Yellen saved him the problem by skipping it in from 2 feet from the front wall. But in the long run, Donnie cannot continue to drive the ball. Remember, we feel that from a coaching standpoint, when he goes defense, he should go with the softball to not leave himself vulnerable to these repounding drives deep to his thumb ball backhand. Nice shot. If you were going to characterize Donnie Thomas, he is in the same mold as a Dave Peck. He's a great stationary shooter, but not particularly effective from a pro standard on the run. Good get by Yellen, but he hits the BB back wall. Here's Donnie's best shot. Wide angle drive, caught the crack.
Point.
Beautiful. Now remember, he had set Yellen up. That same shot previously had gone into the corner, so Yellen had to look for that shot, then he jerked it by him.
Side out. Mr. Yellen serving. First game, 9 serving 9.
This is quite a battle, as we anticipated it would be.
Short serve, hold it up. Second serve.
And the first game, of course, is always important. You seem to have that psychological edge if you win the first game.
Yeah, they're both bearing down. There's no doubt about it. Nice drive. One of the things that Yellen does, beautiful backhand fly kill. One of the things that Mike does that I wouldn't necessarily recommend for the normal amateur player is he hits 50% or more of his shots intentionally wide angle cross court. Now that's great. Beautiful backhand there. That's great if you have Yellen's durability and his ability to cover wide angle, because when you hit cross court, you're going to give the guy the opportunity to intercept the ball and make the play into the right corner. Yellen can recover on that, but most people can't. He's trying to move his opponent. Many times I believe you should go down the line with the ball. There's a perfect ace by Yellen, and if he keeps serving that way, the strategy's not that important, is it, Don?
You indicated earlier that you had not seen Yellen serve many aces. Well, he's had perhaps as many in this game as you have seen in the last few he's played.
There's no doubt about it. Let's watch this slow motion. See how he lifts his elbow to give him more power, drives through it, stays down very, very low. Donnie, even though it's not an outright ace, cannot get his racket on the ball effectively, and it's an easy point.
Yellen serving. First game, 13.
The score was tied at 9 just a few moments ago, but 4 straight points by Yellen.
The serve is definitely the critical element so far.
Point.
He's getting either an off-balance return off the back wall or an outright ace, and
first game.
It's very, very difficult to function against a top-quality professional like Mike Yellen if you're not making an effective serve return to get into the rally.
First game, Mr. Yellen. Gentlemen, you have 2 minutes.
There it is. Game point for Mike Yellen.
Let's watch it in slow motion. He drives the ball again. He's put that same position wide. It got behind the thumb ball backhand, so he can't snap through with a full wrist count, and it's very, very difficult. It's a stucco ball, game point.
Mike, Charlie Brumfield says you've been serving better of late than you ever have.
Yeah, I feel that I'm serving real well, and
Well, in game 1, at one point, as a matter of fact, the score was tied at 9, and then Mike Yellen put together a string of points and ran away. What do you look for in game 2?
Well, I'd like to see Donnie make an adjustment, but he's not noted for his mental acumen. He's a good hard hitter and a great all-around athlete, but he's got to make more changes in his game plan to win it.
5, serving
Game 2,
5.
the score is tied at 5. Again, we point out, as Charlie indicated during the course of game 1, Yellen serving very, very effectively.
Very well, and not only that, Mike is
6,
deceptively hard hitter. It looks like he's hitting average speed drive shots, but those balls are really being hit. Nice pin shot. Donnie doesn't yell very often at the referee.
Nothing.
He asked Bertolucci what was wrong with him. You heard the noise when the ball hit the light there, and Don felt that the ball came down unnaturally, and it should have been a light hitter. He's very, very upset.
Questioning the ancestry of our referee, Dan Bertolucci.
Mr. Yellen serving. 7,
Mike
serving
Yellen.
5.
Probably savoring this moment because he knows that his opponent is upset.
Point.
Well, he's doing the same thing we saw Dave Peck do in last week's match against McCoy. He's a little bit upset. He tried to overhit the ball immediately and made an initial error,
5.
which further irritates him.
Short.
Attempted snap Z. That's the third in Mike Yellen's arsenal. He basically sticks with the hard low drive to the right and to the left, and then a snap Z for a possible ace to the forehand side. Beautiful drive. Intercepted the ball right away. Got
points.
Notice how there's 2 ways you can attack someone in racquetball.
It's a technical.
Well, that's one of them. Get a technical foul for a reversal of points.
Score is Yellen serving. Second game. It's my judgment. Did not see it as a court hinder. 9 serving 4.
And referee Dan Bertolucci has the final word in the debate with John Thomas.
Side out.
And went for the eye there for the quick potential forfeit.
Yes, Yellen almost wore that
Play
one.
goes over. Thomas serving. 4 serving 9.
Donnie's cranked up. Boy, he took a swing at that one. He's got to get back into the match right now if he's going to. You cannot give Yellen a big lead because he virtually never makes mistakes. And now with his newfound service prowess, he's also a potential offensive threat.
Side out.
Well, Thomas is certainly
Yellen
upset.
serving.
He's talking to himself. He's been questioning calls. And this will undoubtedly work to Mike Yellen's advantage.
Yellen waiting for that ball. He got it in center court, drove the ball down the line. See, he waits like a cat. He waits right in center court. You make the shot a little bit too soon. He pounces on it and drives that ball one way or the other, keeping you constantly off balance. Nice serve. He's got the ball in midcourt again, goes right down the line, double reverse pinch. Yellen scoops it in, left it up too much. Donnie Thomas goes down the right wall, into the back wall by Mike Yellen. Great get. Donnie Thomas reverse pinch. No, miscued off the right wall. Beautiful play by Don Thomas.
Thomas serving.
Thomas probably is thinking to himself, about time.
4, serving 10.
Nice service. He's got the setup, goes with a really hard reverse pinch. There's a lesson to the amateurs. If you get jammed by the ball, hit it in the direction where it should be hit. If it's in close to your body, go into the opposite corner with it. Donnie Thomas did that. Beautiful point with a thumb ball backhand.
2 timeouts. Mr. Thomas, you have 2 timeouts. 5, serving 10.
Serve. We got it around the thumb ball backhand, a little bit deep. Yellen attacks cross court. Donnie steps over to cut it off and left it off the back wall. Adios. Donnie stepped over all right, but he stepped over with an open stance, which has a tendency to make your racket face open at impact, and he flew the ball off the back wall. Nice little soft touch. And Donnie's very, very late getting to the ball. If he has a weakness physically, it's in his movement. It certainly isn't in his shoulder and arm strength.
11, serving 5.
Yellen waits for the backhand off the back wall. There's Donnie. The ball got inside again, so what did he do? Just what we recommended. Right into the right corner, right wall first with a reverse pinch.
Second game.
Don't try to force the ball off in an unnatural position if you have an offensive opportunity to hit where the ball is. There's a forehand off the back wall. Beautiful shot right down the wall. He caught him on the hip, as Stranamo pointed out, in the tip, and forced the ball down the right wall. Yellen really didn't get a good jump on the ball because of the hip kick. There's a setup. Mike waits for it. Skips the ball in from 1 foot. He took his head off the ball there. That wasn't a bad shot selection, but you've got to remember that in any shot in racquetball, you've got to maintain eye contact with the ball
11.
even after the ball has been hit. Nice ceiling ball rally, both of them waiting. Donnie felt he had the shot and hit it beautifully into the middle of the court.
Thomas making a comeback. It appeared as though Yellen was home free in this second game. Thomas was a little upset earlier with a couple of calls. He was aggravated with his own play, but now has settled down and he has fought back. He has reduced the deficit to 3 points. However, Mike Yellen now will have an opportunity to increase his edge.
11, serving 8.
I must say, Don, that the top players in racquetball are playing better at this tournament. They're hitting the ball better, they're moving better than they did in last year's Nationals or they did in the last CBC Classic. The players are fired up. They seem to have adjusted more and more to the faster ball and the shorter game, and they're playing beautiful racquetball.
12, serving 8. Side out.
Nice shot by Donnie Thomas. His game's been characterized today, as it often is, by a series of brilliant shots and a series of shots that are not so brilliant. He has very little average shots in his game.
2 bounces.
Let's watch this in slow motion. There's the thumb ball down the line. Yellen steps over to pick it up. Very, very close. It looks like he might have got it.
Well, the match continued with Yellen, as he did earlier, assuming control again. And we are now going to take a look at the winning point, Mike Yellen serving 14-10.
There it is in slow motion. He goes with this, looks like a snap Z coming off the back wall. The ball takes a bad bounce, and he might as well just walk out the...
And I'll tell you, we expect quite a shootout in both divisions, and we'll be back with the men's battle for the championship in just 60 seconds.
Dave Hill, Lynn Adams, 82 national champion, the drive serve. With the Echelon CBK, the ultimate high